Hey, hi Saurabh. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great, Apalak. Good afternoon.
So good to see you here. Many conversations in the past. Great connecting with you again.
Thank you for having me, Apalak.
Right.
Really appreciate it.
Right. So Saurabh, first thing first, I spoke to you when you were earlier with a different organization. Now it's a brand new setup, IBO, which is a tech-enabled omnichannel company which is into home building and improvement. A little bit about that, but I'm sure our audience would be keen to understand what this company is all about. Then I'll jump right into the questions.
Sure. So Ibo is basically an omni-channel retail company in the home improvement, home building space. This is an omni-channel company. We have physical stores or the offline channel as well as an online channel. We have 2 stores currently, one in Bangalore, one in Chennai. These are large format stores. We are online with our app, both Android, iOS, website, both in web as well as desktop. So pretty much we are available in all the channels, right? So, we are shipping and fulfilling orders pretty much across the nation now through our online channel, right? Of course, there are certain limitations around the bulky items and so on, but largely we are shipping to about 20,000 pin codes currently in India now.
Wow.
Yeah. So we started this company, our operation started towards the end of last year. And it was in the making a few months before that. Right? So we started with our app first, and our first store went live in February. Our second store went live in Chennai about 3 weeks ago.
Wow, congratulations.
So, thank you. And pretty much, basically, we saw an opportunity in this category.
Sorry if I may, because I'm too keen to ask my first question here.
Sure.
Right. You speak about IBO being a omni-channel platform, right? But in my understanding, as far as the India market goes, we've not seen so much success when we speak about omni-channel platform, right? Either we've seen extremely successful stories in the e-commerce space, right? And then you have the brick and mortar. Very seldom have we seen success on both the platforms, which is what we call as omnichannel. So what are the reasons why you feel companies in the past have not succeeded in this space, and some of the tricks that can get it right? What's your take?
Yeah. So I would say you're right. Most of the retail companies predominantly started with one dominant channel, right? Either online or offline, right? Of course, you have all kinds of things, right? But we all know the future of retail is omni-channel because the customers want to be served the way they like it, right? Whether it's online, offline, sometimes they want to experience, they want to touch and feel the product. Sometimes they want the convenience of these items to be delivered at them, right? So depending on different use cases, they want to be served wherever they want, however they want, and when they want it, right? So as a retailer, we have to be ready for that. Right? And that's where really the omni-channel play comes in, really become so significant.
Right.
I think if you really look at the COVID journey, right, or how the retailers have gone through around the transformation, right, during the COVID times, a lot of offline retailers had to really expand their online presence, during the COVID times, and really to kind of reach out to their customers. But you're right. This is not an easy transition for a lot of players. This has its own nuances, it has its own complexities, especially if you have started as one channel player and you're trying to expand into the other channel, right? Because you're trying to create another channel, you may not have the same view of the data, right? If you really look at for any retailer, right, there are 4 or 5 core data items.
Right.
The customer, the price, inventory, order, product, right? These are the 5 core data, on which really the business is built around, right? Now, that's really, I would say, a lot of complexity around how do you get the single source of truth across channels, and how do you manage that, right? And a lot of complexity, I would say, in implementation of the omni-channel goes around that, right? And if you're unable to get that consistent view across channels, there are challenges in implementing a successful omnichannel model, right?
So sort of tell me one thing. Like you said, a physical retail experience and an online retail experience is very different, right? How does technology bridge that gap? Because at the end of the day, both the platforms are there for the customer. How does technology ensure that whether they go to a physical store or they shop online, it's a seamless experience? The role of technology here. Sorry.
So I think two things. One is the experience has to be seamless across channels, because if I take Ebo as an example, it's the same Ebo. Whether the customer prefers to interact with us through an online channel or an offline channel, it has to be the same proposition, the same experience that Ebo should be able to offer to our customers. And the same true for every other retailer as well.
Right.
Now, one is the seamless experience around the channels. The second thing, which is extremely important, is the channels should complement each other as well. Right. So that's really where the beauty of an omni-channel is. It's not only about customer interacts in one channel or the other, but they can very seamlessly traverse through the channels as well.
Right.
They can initiate their journey somewhere and they can end it somewhere else.
Right.
And it works both ways. They can start in offline. It is possible. They can start in offline, but they can place an order online and end the transaction online, or vice versa. They can start the research, they can start the discovery online, and they decide to shop it in the store. And even if they shop it in the store, it can be still delivered to them, like an online, right?
Nice.
So it's like completely seamless.
Best of both worlds.
Exactly. They can traverse through the channels in a very, very seamless manner. And the experience remains the same. When I talk about the experience, one is the whole discovery, the shopping experience, also things like pricing, delivery timelines, all of that, right? It should stay so seamless. The product availability and all of that. Yeah.
But sort of typical issues about retail, when we talk about omni-channel, how do you ensure, inventory visibility, across channels? How do you manage, data synchronization? Because, for instance, you buy something online, that will have a reflection in your background operations for a physical format as well. You have your inventory, which is, I'm assuming, both for your physical setup as well as the online setup. How do you manage inventory management, data synchronization across both the platforms?
So I think one of the things that we have done, and I would say we have built a truly omni-channel platform. Now, what does it mean, right? What that means is your backend platform remains the same. So what that does is, there's hardly any data synchronization. It's a single source of truth across channels.
Oh, okay.
So it's a single data source, right? As I said, whether it's a product information, whether it's an inventory position, I can clearly see my inventory position. Of course, there is an element of store availability versus online delivery and so on.
Right.
But as long as you keep it as a single source of truth and you're minimizing the synchronization of data across channels, right?
Right.
Your ability to serve it up to the customer just as a front end from the back-end platform really gives you that seamless experience, right? Because if you think of a single back-end platform, an omni-channel platform, and think of store as one channel, web as another channel, and app as a third channel, right? But they're all being served up from the same back-end platform with the same core data. Now, certain nuances of the data you have to capture, because you might have certain products which are in the store, certain items which are available inside the store, maybe only for display purpose, but they're being served, delivered from my warehouse or like an online order and so on, right? If you keep a single view of the data, single source of truth, the life becomes a lot easier, right? Of course, it requires a lot of architectural nuances to be captured, a lot of maturity in your tech practices, your architectural practices, the way you build your architecture in the platform. And I think we have been able to do that quite successfully, and it has been working pretty well for us so far.
Right. Sort of, this is more of a forward-looking question. We've seen a lot of technology being, companies like yours, IPO, are very strongly entrenched on the key foundation of technology. Going forward, do you see emerging tech sciences like augmented reality, virtual reality? Because you are at the end of somewhere talking about the consumer experience. Do you think there's a convergence of such technologies as far as retail goes?
Oh, absolutely. I would say some of the best use cases of AR, VR are in the retail space, especially if you're an omni-channel retailer, right? And more so in the category that we operate in, right? Because this category, to begin with, is perceived to be a very touchy-feely kind of a category.
Yes.
People like to shop more in a physical setting, right?
Right.
And of course, with a great omni-channel experience, we are trying to also bring about that change in the behaviors and so on, right? Now, that's where technology plays a very role, right? So some of the examples, which, of course, we are trying out a lot of things. A lot of things are at the POC stage. We're experimenting with a lot of technologies, but there are certain retailers, even outside India, they have implemented 3D product catalogs.
Okay.
So that's where you get a more of a 3D view of a product, right? That's really gets closer to really experiencing a product in a store, right? Because you get a 3D view of the product. The concept of endless aisles where you can stand in the store, scan it, and you can get the view of all the products that you may not be physically carrying in the store, right? And how do you enhance the experience of those products through these things like 3D product catalog and all, where the products that are not even physically available in the store, you can still get to see those, right? Or you can really be standing in an aisle, scan a QR code, and you can open up a PDP page of your app or from your website, right? So the advantage is when you're standing in front of a shelf in a physical store, the information that you have is very limited of the product.
Right.
But once you open an online product detail page, right, you can get all the specifications, all the details of that product,
right?
So there are a lot of use cases like that where the technology can come and really bridge the gap between the online offline experiences, right? And whether you're, as I said, interacting through whichever channel, you could get very close to the experience that the other channel can provide. And that's and as I said, you can stand in the store, still you can have a very seamless access to our online data and information, or vice versa.
So Saurabh, my last question to you here today is, what is the role of analytics, not just in retail, but considering the new age of retail is going to be omnichannel, as I can clearly see. And why I ask is, for instance, we know the benefits of, analytics in an online business platform. There's dynamic pricing, there's product cataloging. There's data mining. You know what the customer has been searching for. Basis that you do price allocation, so on and so forth. How do you get that entire experience across the channels, say even in a physical format?
So I'll give an example, right? So think of a use case or shift from store, right?
Okay.
And an online order, so which we are doing today, and I think this is also one of, I would say, very forward-looking kind of a capability. Companies are already doing it. It's not like that we are the first one who's doing it, but it's very difficult to kind of get it right or to perfect it, right? And that's really where a lot of data analytics also comes into play. And I would say a lot of real-time data insights and analytics may come into play, not even post-facto, right? A lot of real-time play comes in, real-time analytics, real-time insights also come into play there, right? So give you an example of that use case. So let's say if you're taking an online order, but you're shipping it from the store, or you're enabling a pickup from store, right?
Right.
Now, you have a walk-in customer, and you also have an online order dipping into the same inventory, in the same shelf,
right.
And you have to service both the customers.
Yes.
Right. You can't have very high percentage of online order cancellations.
Right.
At the same time, you don't want your walk-in customer to also go disappointed, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So I think that's where a single view of inventory How do you ensure that in real-time basis, you're dipping into the inventory both for your online and the offline orders? How you're doing that, right? How you're ensuring that while there's a store that has to serve their walk-in customers, they have to provide the best experience to them. At the same time, they also have to meet the online requirements, meeting their SLAs without disappointing their online customers, right? So a lot of information that you want to capture and serve up to your stores in a real-time basis, right? When should the order be dropped? When should the order be picked? When should the order be picked and packed? And when should the order be shipped? Right? How do you get the backlog of the orders? What is the capacity of that store? How many orders can they take? What is the inventory position of that store for a particular SKU? Right? Where should that the order be directed? Where should it go to store one? You always have your basis of computing your shipping costs, your delivery timelines, inventory availability, which is the best store to send order to. Now, if that store is not able to serve up that order for whatever reason, you have to direct it to some other store or some other node, right? Or it could be a warehouse. Right? So a lot of that data insights, data computations and analytics happens on the fly as well, right? And then you also provide the post-factor information also on the analytics, so that, as I said, the bottom line here is, regardless of whichever channel the customer interacts with you, the experience has to stay seamless, right? You need to understand the consumer behavior, you need to understand the customer journey, capture those, at every step along the way. You can look at the browse behavior, the browse journey of the customer online, and feed that into your offline channel as well, right? What assortment? You can do your assortment.
That is exactly what I was trying to ask you. That do I get the benefit of understanding consumer behavior in the online premise and convert the same experience in a physical setup, which you kind of answered in many ways.
Absolutely. So I think it's end-to-end, pretty much starting from the customer journey, capturing those insights, feeding it back into your offline channel as well, and then translating into those omni-channel experiences as well.
Sure.
And as I said, it's a combination of customer journey as well as how you manage the fulfillment, the shipments, how do you optimize different costs, and then pass on those benefits to your customers eventually.
Sure. So thank you so much. These conversations can go on forever, and I'll probably reserve one more day to have one more extension to this conversation. But for this, I'd like to thank you once more. So our pleasure talking to you, and thanks for all the insights thrown in. I hope our audience learns a lot from this discussion, and looking forward to many more conversations with you.
Thank you so much, Apalak. My pleasure.
Bye for now. Bye.
Thank you.